Let's now move on to our fourth and final main topic today. And our fourth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Hendo Meric, who writes, "Hello, John and Rob. I was underwhelmed with the PS5 announcement earlier, but I gotta admit, I got really excited to see they're coming out with a Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Well, it could be a game. There's a lot of suggestions out there that it's going to be a really high-end, additional kind of add-on to the original Spider-Man game. But what it is or isn't, we'll find out soon. They didn't show much, but the game doesn't come out for another 5 or 6 months. Do you think Sony is taking a step towards Miles Morales in animated form and now in game form brings us closer to a live action Miles Morales Spider-Man movie?" All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yes, yesterday, of course, a lot of people were excited because PS5 did their big announcement, and I watched a bunch of it. I thought it was all right, whatever. I do like the PlayStation platform. I like the PlayStation platform very much. I thought the announcement was all right, whatever. But, of course, the big thing was the thing about Spider-Man Miles Morales. And this comes to us from The Verge, right? Spider-Man Miles Morales, the sequel to 2018's PS4 exclusive Spider-Man, is officially heading to the PS5, Sony announced today at its PlayStation 5 gameplay event. A teaser trailer showed off a first look at the upcoming sequel. Miles Morales appeared in developer Insomniac Games' Spider-Man as a playable character, but it wasn't until the end of the game when the character was bit by a radioactive spider, setting up the newly announced sequel. This comes to us again from The Verge. It is an interesting thing. So there's not much, I don't want to talk about the game itself too much and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting looking. They didn't show much. But it does raise the question, with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse being as brilliant as it was and winning an Academy Award, now with them moving forward and doing Miles Morales and highlighting Miles Morales in their PS5 content, could all this stuff suggest that we might be on the verge of seeing Sony taking steps to bring us a live-action Miles Morales? Let me get my thoughts on this. The first thing that should be pointed out is I have said for quite a while that I don't believe that we're going to see a live-action Miles Morales movie. I mean, obviously, we've seen Miles Morales kind of referenced in Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff, but I've said for a while that I don't expect that we're going to see a live-action Miles Morales movie per se, for a couple of reasons, which we'll go into in a second. That said, though, even I, who have been saying for a while that I don't expect this to happen, I mean, for live action, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I've been saying that. But I think there's enough anecdotal evidence starting to pile up here that one has to consider that possibility. I think there's enough anecdotal stuff here that one absolutely must consider the possibility that we are on the verge of maybe sometime in the next couple of years getting some sort of announcements from Sony that we're going to get this. Let's look at some of this anecdotal information. Number one, again, we mentioned Spider-Verse. That was a much bigger hit for them than they thought it would be. It's particularly when it came to the critic reviews, to the audience response, how good the film was. It won the Academy Award, all that kind of stuff. Great. So there's a lot of momentum there. Maybe that was a part of the reason why, but we've gotten a lot of now momentum, if you will, and the popularity of the Miles Morales character. That's building on it. Now, one of the big things everybody's popping about coming out of this PS5 announcement is the fact that we had this Miles Morales, whether it's a big major add-on DLC sort of thing for the original game or whether it's a true sequel, whatever, that's irrelevant. They're building on that and now coming out with Miles Morales. When you look at those three factors, the success of Spider-Verse, this whole thing with the game, the growing popularity of the character, I got to say, it is changing my tune. My tune is changing. You know, as new information gets, revealed to us, we've got to consider changing what our thoughts are. And I am starting to lean a little bit more towards the idea that, you know what, they very well could be setting up a live-action Spider-Man project at some point, riding this wave of momentum. Now, Rob, the thing working against it right now is the same thing that has always worked against it, which is this. It all depends on their deal with Marvel. Because I have a suspicion that in their deal with Marvel, that as long as Marvel has a live action Spider-Man going on in the MCU that Sony is the distributor of, then Sony won't work against that by having a different version of a live action Spider-Man in their Venomverse, if you will, all going at the same time. So depending on the details of that deal, that to me is still the biggest roadblock in their way. That is still the biggest obstacle that could very well put the kibosh on any discussions of a live action Miles Morales. So I'll say this, barring something contractual that bars Sony from doing a live action Spider-Man while there's another live action Spider-Man running around in the MCU, barring that, and that's a huge, huge hurdle, I think maybe they are looking at moving in that direction at this point. Rob, you're looking at this whole thing. Do you think all these pieces of the puzzle are adding up to something, or is it just random pieces of the puzzle? How do you see it?
Well, after the Academy Award win of Into the Spider-Verse, I think you'd be crazy not to consider that this character really works on the big screen in animated form. So it's not a big leap to think that we could make a live action movie out of it. I mean, that character was so winsome and appealing in that movie that I would love to see it live action. I got to tell you, I know you saw very little of the game and all that, but I kind of got chills when I watched that trailer, you know, and just seeing, you're like, okay, this is the possibility of how this looked or could look. And especially if they went for a more, I don't know, stylized approach to it, because maybe it's a different universe or something.
Oh, we had Rob had a slight hiccup there. Rob's got a slight hiccup
Miles
there.
Morales movie.
Okay,
I would
back.
totally see that.
Sorry, you froze there for a second. Sorry about that. We just so everybody knows, we've been having Skype has been having an issue most of the day, but we're able to work through it. I think
it's
right,
awesome.
Though.
My point was it'd be awesome.
All right, question here is for you guys. What do you think about this? As a matter of fact, I decided to make that the topic of today's question of the day. So the question of the day today, which I put up on our community tab on our YouTube channel. If for no other reason, that's a good reason to make sure you're subscribed to our channel, is for all the posts and announcements and polls are going to be in our community tab on YouTube. The question of the day that I asked you guys was this. I put this up just before we started, where I asked, with the PS5 game, the Oscar for Spider-Verse and his growing popularity, do you think Sony could move on doing a live-action Miles Morales movie within the next 5 years? Right now, as of right now, about 2,500 of you guys have chimed in on that. And right now, overwhelmingly, 82% of you are saying, yeah, you think they're going to do that. Again, I think the big roadblock is going to be what's the live-action, deal between Marvel and Sony. But as of right now, 82% of you guys are saying, yes, you do believe they will, in fact, do a live-action Miles Morales within the next 5 years. And only right now, 18% of you guys are saying that, no, you don't think that will be the case. So let's ask you guys here, what do you think? Take all of it into consideration. The deal, the fact that we do have a live-action Spider-Man right now, the fact that the game, the Spider-Verse movie, the growing popularity of Miles Morales, what do you think? Do you think within the next 5 years, Sony, within their own universe, could introduce a live-action Miles Morales Spider-Man movie? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.